My cousin Jose had a mental health crisis at my sister's wedding, and decades of parental favoritism exploded in front of everyone. So this all went down last month at my sister's wedding. For context, at 29 am have this cousin Jose 33 am. He's always been the black sheep in the family, and not even in a funny, rebellious way. More like he's been struggling with depression and anxiety since his late teens. He's super smart, but he's never really been able to hold down a steady job, and honestly, he always felt like the odd one out at family gatherings. And here's the kicker, our grandparents, especially my aunt Jose's mom, never really hid the fact that they favoured his younger brother, Lewis. Like, growing up, Lewis was a golden child of straight A's, football star, got into a fancy university. Meanwhile, Jose was constantly compared to him, almost like he was defective. It's a kind of favoritism that literally rots your brain over time. Now, flash forward to my sister's wedding. It was this big church ceremony in San Antonio, super traditional, the kind where the photographer follows everyone like paparazzi. Everyone was dressed to the nines. Jose showed up in this wrinkled suit that clearly hadn't been tailored. I could already see the disapproving looks from our tias before the ceremony even started. During the reception, we were all seated at this long family table. My parents were glowing, my sister looked gorgeous, and everyone was laughing, drinking, and just having the best time. Except Jose. He was sitting there, kind of twitchy, picking at the edge of his napkin. I leaned over and asked quietly, "You good, man?" And he just muttered, "Yeah, I'm fine." But he wasn't fine. The moment things blew up was during the father-daughter dance. Everyone was watching, recording on their phones, all sentimental. Suddenly, Jose stood up, walked right into the middle of the dance floor, and said, loudly, "Do you guys even realize how much you've destroyed me with your favoritism? Lewis this, Lewis that. Do you know what it's like to be treated like you're nothing?" The music cut. People gasped. My and his mom turned pale, and Lewis, of course, tried to get up to calm him down, but Jose snapped, "Sit down, golden boy. This isn't about you for once." It was like a soap opera unfolding live. My uncle hissed, "Jose, sit down right now before you embarrass us even more." And Jose just laughed this bitter, broken laugh, and shouted, "You already embarrassed me my whole life. You made me into this. You all act like I don't exist until I'm a problem." At this point, the bride, my sister, looked absolutely horrified, trying to signal the DJ to start the music again, but everyone was just frozen. And then Jose started crying. Like full-on, body shaking sobs in the middle of the dance floor. So there Jose was in the middle of the dance floor, sobbing like his whole world had just collapsed. Everyone was whispering, some people pulling out their phones like it was free entertainment. I wanted to crawl out of my skin. It's one thing to argue at Thanksgiving, but to have this go down at a wedding? Brutal. My aunt Jose's mom finally stood up. She walked over in her sequin dress, heels clicking on the wood floor, and whispered sharply, "Get off the floor, Jose, you're humiliating us." And I swear, that just broke him even more. He yelled, not even caring that the mic was still on from the speeches earlier. "You see, that's all you care about, not me, not my pain, just your damn reputation." The whole reception hall went dead silent. My sister's new husband leaned over to me and whispered, "Should we stop this?" And I just shook my head because honestly, if anyone touched Jose right then, I think he would have completely lost it. Lewis finally stepped up. He tried to put a hand on Jose's shoulder and said gently, "Bro, please, let's talk about this outside." And Jose shoved him back, not super hard, but enough to make Lewis stumble a little. Gasps all around. My uncle shot up, furious, but my dad blocked him, whispering something like, "Not here, man, not like this." And then Jose, voice cracking, just started listing out every grievance from the past 20 years. How Lewis got a brand new car at 16 while Jose had to take the bus. How his parents bragged about Lewis's college acceptance, but barely mentioned when Jose finally graduated community college. How every time he brought up feeling depressed, they told him to man up. It was like he'd been holding all of this in for decades and chose that exact moment to unload. Meanwhile, the bride, my sister, was standing there, frozen, mascara streaking down her face because her big day was literally being hijacked. At one point she whispered, "Why is this happening right now?" I could feel the tension in my chest. Part of me wanted to grab Jose and drag him out, but another part of me couldn't help but think, he's right, he's actually telling the truth. Because favoritism in our family isn't new, it's just that nobody ever dared to call it out in public before. Then Jose looked straight at his mom and said, "You know what hurts the most? That I could disappear tomorrow, and all you'd say is, at least we still have Lewis." That line, it was like a knife. People audibly gasped. My aunt covered her mouth with her hands, shaking her head, while Lewis looked like someone had punched him in the gut. And then Jose just collapsed onto the floor, sobbing again. Security, yes, the venue had actual security finally came over, and the DJ awkwardly started playing soft music, trying to fill the void. But the damage was already done. After Jose collapsed, security gently helped him up and escorted him outside. My aunt followed, half scolding, half pleading, while Lewis trailed behind like a shadow. The rest of the guests sat there in stunned silence. My sister was trembling, holding her new husband's arm, and whispering, "Why today? Why my wedding?" I went outside after a minute because I couldn't just sit there pretending everything was fine. When I stepped into the courtyard, Jose was pacing like a caged animal, hands shaking, eyes red. He wasn't drunk, that would have been easier to explain. No, he was stone cold sober and completely unraveling. "Don't you dare," Jose snapped when he saw me, pointing a finger. "Don't you dare tell me to calm down. I've been calm my whole damn life while they crush me." "I'm not here to tell you to calm down," I said quietly. I don't want you to fall apart alone." That seemed to soften him for half a second, but then my aunt stormed out, face flushed. "Jose, how could you do this on your cousin's wedding day? This was supposed to be a celebration, and you made it all about you." Jose laughed bitterly. "Of course you'd say that. It's always about appearances. Heaven forbid people see what's really going on." Lewis tried again to intervene. "Look, man, I know you feel like they favour me, but..." Jose cut him off like a whip. "Feel like? You got everything. Lewis, you got the car, the parties, the praise, the money. What did I get? A pat on the head and a try harder next time. Don't tell me it's just in my head." Lewis looked wounded, and for once, he didn't have a smooth comeback. He just stood there staring at his shoes. At that point, my uncle came barreling out, red in the face, hissing, "You're mentally unstable, Jose. Do you even hear yourself? You're ruining your cousin's wedding and embarrassing this family. You need help. Serious help." That was the first time someone actually said the words out loud. Help. Not man up, but not get it together, but help. The problem was, my uncle said it like an insult, not a lifeline. Jose's face crumpled, and he shouted back, I begged for help, I begged you to see me, but you only see Lewis. You only see what makes you look good, and you know what, maybe I'm unstable, but at least I'm not fake like all of you. Guests had started to spill outside by then, whispering and watching. It was like the wedding had split into two shows of the picture-perfect reception inside, and the raw, ugly truth spilling out in the courtyard. Finally, my dad stepped in. He wasn't Jose's parent, but he's always been the calmer one in the family. He put a hand on Jose's shoulder and said gently, come with me, Mijo, let's get some air away from all this noise. And for the first time all night, Jose didn't resist. He just let himself be led away, still crying, still shaking, but quieter. The rest of us were left standing there, staring at each other, realizing that nothing about our family was ever going to look the same again. My dad led Jose around the side of the venue, near this little garden area with benches. The music inside had picked back up, muffled through the walls, but out there it felt like another world, quite except for Jose's ragged breathing. I sat down next to him while my dad gave us space, pretending to check his phone a few stats away. Jose looked wrecked. His hair was a mess, eye swollen, tie hanging loose like he was choking on it. For a while, we just sat there in silence. Finally, I said softly, you've been carrying this for a long time, huh? Jose laughed without humour. Since I was 12, maybe earlier. He rubbed his face. Do you remember Christmas when Lewis got that bike and I got socks? I blinked. Yeah, I thought it was just random. Not random, Jose said bitterly. That's when I realised I'd always get leftovers. Lewis gets the spotlight, I get the scraps, and every time I complained, Mum would say, don't be jealous, be happy for your brother, like I wasn't allowed to feel anything. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, voice trembling. And then when I started having panic attacks in high school, what did they do? Sent me to church, told me to pray harder. Meanwhile, Lewis got therapy when he broke up with his girlfriend because he was fragile. Can you imagine how that feels, watching your pain be invisible while his every tear was treated like a national crisis? I didn't know what to say. Because the mess up part? He wasn't wrong. I remembered those moments too, just never thought about how lopsided they were until he spelled it out. I finally said, I'm sorry, I should have seen it too. He looked at me, eyes full of this mix of anger and relief. You did see. Everyone saw. Nobody said a damn thing because it was easier to let me be the punching bag. That hit hard. Because he was right that we all played along, even me. I remembered rolling my eyes when my aunt bragged about Lewis at every gathering, while Jose sat in the corner. I remembered hearing my uncle say, Jose is just not as gifted, like it was fact carved in stone. And I stayed quiet. I can't do this anymore, Jose whispered. I can't keep pretending I'm okay while they worship Lewis and treat me like a mistake. It's me inside. The word made my stomach twist. Hey, I said quickly, you're talking. That means something. You don't have to keep carrying this alone. He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. Talking doesn't change the fact that they'll never see me. Not really. I could cure cancer and they'd still ask Lewis to give the speech. My dad finally walked back over and said gently, Jose, Mijo, you don't have to stay here tonight. We can take you home, away from all this, let them dance without pretending everything's fine. Jose looked at both of us, defeated, and whispered, yeah, take me away, please. So while the party raged on inside, we quietly slipped him out through the side door. No dramatic exits this time. Back inside, the atmosphere had shifted. At first, the music played like nothing had happened, but you could feel it, the tension hanging in the air like a storm cloud. Ness whispered, trying not to make eye contact, some nervously chuckling to cover up their discomfort. My sister looked pale, clutching her bouquet like it was a lifeline. Her new husband kept rubbing her back, murmuring, it's not your fault, but even he looked shaken. My aunt Jose's mom was fuming. She huddled with my uncle and Lewis, voices low but sharp. I overheard snippets. It's his fault. He planned this. How could he do this at our granddaughter's wedding? Lewis can't even look at him without crying. It's humiliating. Meanwhile, my dad, who had escorted Jose out, came back, trying to calm everyone. Look, he's not trying to ruin anything. He's struggling mentally. You can't just shame him. That only made my aunt snap louder. Mentally, he's a grown man. What about respect for the family? For the bride? I stayed quiet for a moment, watching Lewis, who finally spoke up. His voice was shaky, almost guilty. Maybe we didn't see how much this hurt him. Maybe we should have tried to include him more. That caused a ripple of awkward silence. My aunt's face turned redder. Include him. We did everything for him. He got a roof over his head. Food. Everything. You think that's not enough? The reality is, that's the classic parental favoritism defense. Provide basic needs, but completely ignore emotional validation. Jose had grown up invisible, and now everyone was shocked when the consequences hit hard. I could see my sister trying to mediate, her voice trembling. Everyone, please, this is my wedding. I love all of you, but fighting now isn't going to help. Let's just enjoy the day for the couple. It worked for maybe 30 seconds before my cousin Maria, Jose's sister-in-law, who's always been brutally honest, piped up. Enjoy the day. Are you kidding? Jose's breakdown is exactly what happens when you ignore someone for decades. Lewis, your family worshipped you, and you never even realized it. Don't act innocent. Lewis looked like he'd been slapped. The colour drained from his face. My aunt's jaw dropped, her hands trembling. A few of the guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats, whispering among themselves. Even some of the extended family, who normally stayed quiet, were now glancing around, sharing shocked expressions. My cousin Roberto whispered to me, I never realized how bad it was, poor guy. It was surreal. A wedding, meant to be this perfect celebration, had become a stage for decades of family resentment. Every forced smile, every polite toast, every champagne glass raised inside was now tainted with unspoken tension. By the time the cake was being cut, no one was really paying attention. People laughed at the jokes, but their eyes were wary, scanning the room for anyone else on the verge of snapping. Everyone knew the story of Jose's pain had just been laid bare, and nobody could look at the family the same way again. The next day, the aftermath was brutal. Family group chats were blowing up, everyone trying to make sense of what had happened. My aunt sent out a passive-aggressive message about the keeping appearances, while my uncle lectured anyone who would listen about boundaries and respect. Lewis barely responded, clearly still reeling from the night before. I called Jose first thing in the morning. He answered on the third ring, voice hoarse. I can't go back there today. I need time. I get it, Mijo, I said. Do you want me to come over? Yeah, he muttered. Please. When I got to his apartment, he was sitting on the couch, blanket wrapped around him like a shield. Empty soda cans and half-eaten snacks were scattered around. He didn't even look at me at first, just muttering, I can't face them. We talked for hours. Not about the wedding, really, but about the past, about therapy he tried years ago, about every slight he'd endured, the jokes at family dinners, the ignored accomplishments, the constant comparisons to Lewis. And this time, he didn't just cry, he raged too, and it was cathartic. He even said things I'd never heard out loud before. I thought I'd always have to be invisible, that nobody would ever care, and now I know I was right. They still don't. I tried to reassure him. Jose, I care. I know others have messed up, but I'm here, and we can get you real help, professional help. This doesn't have to define you. Eventually, he nodded, exhausted but a little calmer. I think I need to start therapy again, and maybe I should have a serious talk with my mom and dad about this favoritism thing, even if it kills them to hear it. We made a plan. I'd help him find a therapist, someone who specializes in family dynamics and trauma. He'd start small, working on coping mechanisms before confronting the rest of the family. Meanwhile, the wedding fallout continued. My sister eventually texted me, apologizing for everything, saying she never imagined it would get that intense. But honestly, I didn't blame her. She had her own life to start, and the fact that Jose's crisis had taken center stage was just inevitable given decades of neglect. By the end of the week, a few relatives reached out to Jose, cautiously, offering apologies and asking if he was okay. It wasn't perfect. Some people still denied favoritism existed, claiming he was too sensitive. But others, finally, admitted they'd messed up. And slowly, Jose began to see that he wasn't completely alone in this mess. For the first time in years, he admitted he felt like maybe, just maybe, he had a shot at being seen for who he truly was, and not as Lewis's shadow, not as a family screw up, but as himself. It wasn't a clean ending, and the wedding itself remained a painful memory, but the beginning of real change for Jose and the family had started. A few weeks later, things started shifting. The wedding had passed, but the echoes of Jose's breakdown lingered. Some relatives avoided him, uncomfortable with the truth he'd laid bare. But others started small gestures, a text asking how he was doing, an invitation to lunch. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. One Sunday, Jose invited me and a few family members over for brunch. My aunt hesitated, clearly unsure, but my dad encouraged her, saying, just listen, don't defend, just listen. Lewis came too, looking nervous, but he sat down and quietly waited for Jose to speak. Jose took a deep breath, then looked directly at everyone. I know this is uncomfortable, but I need you to understand something. This favoritism, ignoring me, comparing me to Lewis, that's been a weight on me my whole life, and it's not just about the wedding. It's about years of feeling invisible. My aunt's eyes welled up. Jose, I didn't realize. I thought I was helping. I thought you needed to toughen up. You never listen, Jose said, voice steady but soft. I wasn't asking for special treatment. I just wanted to be seen, to be heard. Lewis finally spoke, his voice quiet. I had no idea. I never noticed. I always just assumed. I don't know that you were fine, that Mom and Dad weren't picking favorites. His hands were trembling slightly. I'm sorry, Jose. I really am. Jose exhaled, a weight visibly lifting. It's not just on you, Lewis. It's on all of us. We can't change the past, but maybe we can try to do better from now on. The conversation wasn't perfect. There were tears, some defensiveness, even a few harsh words. But for the first time, everyone was actually talking, not hiding behind polite smiles or ignoring the problem. Over the next few weeks, Jose started therapy again, seeing someone who specialized in family trauma. He was learning coping strategies, and slowly, his confidence started to grow. He even joined a local photography club, something he loved as a teenager but never pursued because he felt a second rate. Family gatherings became quieter, but more genuine. My aunt made an effort to acknowledge Jose's achievements, not just Lewis's. Lewis tried harder to include him in conversations, inviting him on short trips and actually listening when Jose spoke. Even my sister, who had witnessed the wedding disaster firsthand, would check in with him regularly, offering support without judgment. The wedding would always be remembered, and not as a perfect day, but as a catalyst. A painful, messy, unforgettable moment that forced the family to confront long-standing issues. And while not everyone had completely healed, Jose finally felt like he mattered, like his voice could be heard. One evening, Jose sent me a text that summed it up perfectly. Thanks for being there. I think I'm finally starting to feel like me, not just someone's shadow. It's a long road, but at least it's mine. And that, more than anything, felt like a victory.